That's right.
This is huge. That's what she said.
All right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt, and with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. There's been a lot of stuff we got to talk about. Before we touch anything, let's just get the beer stuff out of the way real quick. What do you got tonight, my friend?
Holland 1839. So I'm trying this for the first time. So it's pretty good.
All right, I've got from the Brothers Craft. It's actually from in Virginia. I picked this up when we were there for my father-in-law's celebration of life. It's called Optimization. 7.1 IPA. It's not bad, not bad. So I'm getting used to it. But so here we go. We were ready. This is going to be. We were going to recap the Chiefs game a little bit, kind of talk about where the Giants are going to go from here, and then things got kind of turned on its ear this afternoon. So we're going to start there and work our way back. Jaxson Dart is now the starting quarterback of the New York Giants. Your initial thoughts on that?
I think it's a good thing. I mean, we're wasting time with Wilson. I just wish it wasn't against the opponent that they're going to face. But when would have been a good time to do this? So the longer they wait, I mean, 4 of the next 6 teams are undefeated. So the only thing you might have considered is maybe waiting to the Saints game, but then again, you're just wasting time too. The cringe factor here for me is this. I can feel it in my bones. Giants fans have lost patience, right or wrong. They've lost patience with this team. And I don't think they're going to have a lot of patience for Jaxson Dart making mistakes. I hope people remember and understand that this isn't going to be pretty. He's likely to lose at least 4 of the next 5 games as the starting quarterback, given the schedule. And people have to come to terms with that and understand that this is the beginning of a process again. And it's starting all over again. And you better be prepared for that, because he's not likely to come out and be Jaden Daniels. And so, they're going to be playing the Eagles twice. They're going to be going out to Denver. And they're playing arguably the hottest team in the AFC this week. And it's a top 10 defense. And the Eagles where are the Eagles top 10? I know Denver's top 10. I don't know where the Eagles are.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
They're playing really good football teams. And so Jaxson Dart's going to be heavily favored to lose all these games. And you better be ready for that, guys. It's not going to be pretty. But I think it's the right move. You and I have talked about this. What do you think? I got a lot to say.
I got a lot to say. But before I get to what I think, real quick, we have a clip of Joe Shane coming in to talk to Brian Daboll, and I think this is where Brian kind of convinced him to go with Jaxson Dart.
We need to talk.
Right there, you and I have been talking about this for a little while, and I felt all along going into the season, the second that Dart played the way that he did, I said I felt he was going to be the backup at the very least. Like he was going to be the 2, and not just a token 2 that they could play, and if they needed to go, they would move Winston in, and he would still. It didn't make any sense. The second he was the 2, he was legitimately going. I mean, it was just a matter of time. The first game was really bad for Wilson, really bad. There was things he missed. The offense was pretty bland. The second game, and I think really damning, is what happened this past weekend for the Cowboys. After the second game, he's able to do some of the things that he's done elsewhere. Throw the ball deep down the field. There were guys wide open. Discounted it somewhat because, the Giants in the past, even when they played bad defenses, just didn't do anything. So you gave a little bit of credit because that's what he does. He was
great in the second game.
And to throw it deep
games in his career. Yeah.
To throw it deep, to do those things. But there were still some things. And overtime, kind of, we glossed over it slightly, but he did sort of just everything kind of fell off for him at that moment. A lot of reasons why. Then this game, the Chiefs did not dominate the Giants in terms of they were scoring. They struggled. They did a bunch of things not so great. The Giants had every opportunity to score. They could not do much with the ball, period. And Wilson was off. I
He
mean,
was dog shit.
the
He was
two
dog
interceptions, the Wan'Dale Robinson one, I wrote on BBI. He threw it up there, and he said afterwards in his conference, I threw it up, I took a chance, I gave a guy a chance, and they made a good play. I don't know what you think is given a chance and a good play unless Wan'Dale Robinson suddenly metamorphosized into Spud Webb and had a 54-inch leap. He wasn't going to outjump three Kansas City Chiefs players to get the ball. It was a horrible pass. The one in the end zone, you cost the team points. Again, it was a bad pass. Throw it long or just throw it away, but don't throw it short. That was a bad pass and a bad choice.
Are we gonna do? What are we doing now? Are we doing the Kansas City game, or are we doing?
No, I'm just talking about the reason why. The reason why.
Oh, okay.
Once you saw that, the Dallas game. Now, the other big damning piece for Wilson was Chicago lit Dallas up.
Mm-hmm.
And Chicago has struggled a little bit. They have not played well offensively. They struggled against Minnesota. They could not put them away when they dominated early on in the game. They weren't really that good, and they whipped Dallas. They moved up and down the field. That was a major damning moment for Russell Wilson because it says, hold on a second, we can't put a lot of credence into what happened in that game. We scored 6 points in two different games. Both games that we were technically in, I know you feel differently than I do about week one, but the score said the game was still within. One bad play for the Washington, and the Giants would have been back in it if they could have done anything offensively. They did nothing. To do it again, and this time at home, I just felt like the wheels came off, and I think Brian Daboll has been looking for a reason to put Jaxson Dart in, and he got it.
I'm not sure I'm ready to go that far. I think it's simpler than that. The Giants are 0-3. Their season is, for all intents and purposes, over. And not playing Dart at this point is a waste of time. And more importantly, for Brian Daboll, he's coaching for his job. He needs something to say
absolutely
right now. So I hear what you're saying, and we can talk. And when we talk about the Chiefs game, we can get into the specifics. But I don't want to make it too complicated. They're 0-3. They're screwed in terms of, and the only thing Giants fans have to look forward to is praying to God that Jaxson Dart is the real deal. And the Giants know this, and we'll probably talk about this, but look, everything the Giants have touched has turned to shit. And we can go back to, I mean, it's almost comical again. It started with the Saquon crap last year and Xavier McKinney. It's now includes Daniel Jones lighting it up with the Colts. They remember the bit, and I harped on this in the writing on BBI, and I harped on this on our show. The Giants made a big gamble that they were going to bring everybody back on offense except the quarterbacks. And the only other change they made was to bring in James Hudson in case Andrew Thomas wasn't ready. And all of that has blown up in their face. So far, the defensive additions aren't doing great. The decision to bring back Shane Bowen hasn't turned out well. The decision to bring back Brian Daboll hasn't turned out well. And you and I will get into this. Now the Giants organization is attacking content providers and fans. And that's very reminiscent of Disney going after the fans after they put out shitty movies and television shows. So, I mean, everything around this team right now is shit. And Jaxson Dart is hopefully going to be the guy that saves the day. But there's a lot of pressure on this young man. God bless him. And hopefully he's up to the task. But the Giants have so mismanaged everything that they have nothing left but to turn to a rookie to help save them. I know that sounds very pessimistic, but it's hard for me to think otherwise at this point, that this is a little bit desperate, John. So you and I have talked about this, with when to play Dart, when did it make sense? And we game planned this out, and you and I said very early on, if the Giants go 0-2, look out. And now that's where we're at. So 0-2 quickly turned to 0-3 because we didn't think they would beat the Chiefs. They could have, but they didn't.
Sure.
Chiefs are worse than we thought they were. And now here come the Chargers, and then there come the Eagles twice in Denver. So anyways, I know that may sound too negative, but I think it's simpler why they're turning the Dart right now, and it's Brian Daboll has got to save his ass at this point. And Joe Shane's got to be feeling it, because the groceries he bought aren't working out real well either.
So I agree with pretty much everything you said, but I look at it from a different perspective. I do believe that he has to win. I've said that all along. He has to win. I think they've come to the realization they're not going to win with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, when you looked, and I brought it up in the last podcast, when they get inside the 10, everything gets shut down. He cannot operate the offense with the Giants inside the 10-yard line, whether it's height, it's age, whatever it is. He becomes a shell of whatever he used to be, and he cannot operate inside the 10. They almost have to go exclusively. We've got to run and get in there close, and maybe we could run a little scramble and dump, but it wasn't working. It just has not worked. He looks so bad at the end of the game when he's just throwing the ball into the stands. I mean, on fourth down, how do you justify not even at least throwing it to you? It doesn't matter if it gets intercepted.
Right.
You have to score or it's over.
Right.
And he throws it, he basically was like throwing it at the crossbar. So I think the Giants basically looked at it and said, sorry, if it's too loud.
I saw a tweet that said that he threw more attempts at the crossbar than he did Malik Neighbors. It just reminded me of.
Sorry, David. I apologize. It's a brand new headset, so I'm adjusting to the. If it's too loud, let me know.
You're muffled a little bit.
I'm sure. Yeah, it's new. I don't like it.
Okay,
I don't like it.
Okay.
I had the one I always used, and I ran out to go do something, and I came back, and my pug had pulled it on.
Oh.
So it's gone. That being said, I just think that maybe Jaxson Dart is the guy who they wanted to play. Now, here's the other factor that I think, and I want your opinion. It's come up on BBI. I've said the same thing. I think Andrew Thomas playing fairly well gives them confidence that if he's now going to play, we feel a little bit better about putting a rookie there. Andrew Thomas for 28 plays more than held his own. He looked like Andrew Thomas of old.
Yeah, it certainly helps to have him out there. But again, I think my opinion is I don't think they wanted to do this yet, but I think they feel forced that they're doing it. Look, there's a couple of things. Russell Wilson was horrible against the Chiefs, and it wasn't just the red zone. He did what I don't understand other teams haven't done so far, but they're going to do it now. Roll their coverage to Malik and dare someone else to beat them, and basically take away the deep ball, and that's what they did. So Spags ran sort of a shell coverage to take that away, and he dared the Giants to sort of matriculate the ball down the field. Well, guess what? The Giants were 1 of 10 on third down, and they continue to be awful in the red zone. And Cy pointed both those out in his game review, but I also pointed them both out in my write-up of the game right after the game ended. I hate night games because I'm up to like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then so here 2 o'clock in the morning I'm writing another loss. But anyways, so teams moving forward, we're going to do the same thing to Russell Wilson. They were going to say, all right, we're going to do that. But what's worse, John, is this, and this is why I want to be so excited about Jaxson Dart playing, and I hopefully will get there. But I'm still like, we have the same coaching staff, and they're just not creative. They were just talking about it on, I think it was ESPN, how, people were talking about how they like Brian Daboll, but his offense for some reason is so uncreative. And it was there's no variety in the Giants offense right now. They don't. So I think there is a myth about, you and I have talked about this before. Other people have talked about this before. I think Brian Daboll is living off Josh Allen's coattails at this point. And Mike Kafka, people in the past were like, well, we're going to lose him to some other team. Why? Why would anyone grab Mike Kafka? Why would So I worry that Brian Daboll and Kafka are going to screw up Dart too. But hopefully Dart can overcome even bad coaching. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong about this, John. I'm just worried about. So when I watched the Kansas City, I was like, oh my God, Russell Wilson looks like crap. But I'm also like, this play calling doesn't make any sense. Like, where are the different ways to get Malik Neighbors the football? I don't even understand what they're doing. It just seems to be just sending him downfield now. And there's no bubble screens to him. There's no slants. There doesn't seem to be any creativity in the offense at all. And other people have pointed this out repeatedly on X the last couple of days by breaking down clip after clip after clip about what are the Giants doing on this play? What is this? Why is this guy here and that guy there? And there are people running into each other and stuff. So it just doesn't look like a well-coached football team on offense or defense. And so the Giants, to me, we're in a really weird spot. I think the prevailing opinion among Giants fans is this, because I'm seeing it on X and I'm seeing it on BBI. They want Dart to do really well, but not well enough to save Brian Daboll's job. And you know what a delicate tightrope that is? So, and I don't know if you feel that way, but that's what I'm seeing from Giants fans. So you don't want Dart to look so bad that they're like, oh, we got to draft a new quarterback. But at the same time, if he plays lights out, Mara's gonna say, well, we're gonna bring Brian Daboll back. So
are you more worried that Dart will play well and Daboll comes well enough that Daboll comes back? Or are you more worried that Dart's going to be ruined? Which of those two scenarios is a bigger worry for you?
I worry about everything.
Well, I know that's true. Yeah, I hear you.
What was the first one?
So either he plays well enough that Daboll comes back, or they ruin Dart this year because they're
a hard one. I mean, John? I'm gonna answer a question with a question. How's that for a cop out? Sure. Do you want Brian Daboll back?
I don't, but if Dart plays well enough and he was Daboll's guy and they can make it work, then I'm not going to worry about whether that decision of him coming back plays out or not. I want Dart to play well. And if he does, it can't be separate of the coaching staff because they're part of it. I'm not a fan of a lot of the staff. I think changes have to happen. But if Dart is the guy, and maybe the playbook has been reduced somewhat with Wilson, and they were trying to not rush Dart in, and they were like, we'll get by. Wilson was limited in some of the stuff he was doing. That was pretty obvious. Then when they bring Dart in, they run different. They immediately would run RPO stuff that they weren't running with Wilson. And I think you're going to see that continue to happen.
I hope so.
I don't want him to run a lot. I don't want him to get creamed because he still needs to learn to get down.
I think they should. I think they should try, even though they're not built this way. I hope they go into the Chargers game and not think that he can just throw it up 50 times. They better not do that. If the Giants lose 24-10 or 24-6, and Dart doesn't get creamed and has to throw the ball 52 times, I'll take that as a part of the growth process. I would almost be tempted to run Scataboo a ton against the Chargers, even if it's boring and conservative, just to get his feet wet and get him ready to have more success against the Saints the following week. What I don't want them to do is him to get pummeled and confused and just rattled right off the bat. So that's the kind of thing that I'm worried about with Daboll. Is I hope they just say, you know what, we're just going to pretend he's like a 6-year vet and just let him hang it all out there. I hope they don't. In other words, I hope they keep the training wheels on a little bit in this game. And I have lose by not destroying Dart. If that, and I know that's a defeatist attitude. That's what I'm suggesting.
So here's what I think. And it doesn't. Oh, thank you, SPP. You're awesome, dude. Yeah, I'm going to put that up there because that's much appreciated. I think Brian Daboll with the Giants, right? Not Buffalo. With the Giants has lived off from being coach of the year in 22. He lived off the first 8 or 9 games in which he game planned around a combination of Jones, Barkley, which most teams early on committed to trying to stop Barkley. So the run part of Jones's game really came to the forefront. I mean, he was really able to take advantage of that. They also were fairly conservative. Remember, the Giants receiving core was shit. I mean, it was bad. We picked up Isaiah Hodgins off waivers,
and he instantly became our best wide receiver.
He was like a starting wide receiver. Yeah. We still had Richie James was still playing before he got hurt.
Right.
I kind of feel we're going to kind of move back towards that part. You've got the combination with Scataboo and Dart. They both can run, obviously. Scataboo's a running back. Mm-hmm. But it gives you that option a little bit. Now, one of the reasons why I was starting to think that the Chargers game made sense Historically, West Coast teams coming to the East Coast playing 1:00 games hasn't always been the greatest. They're a little sluggish. There's a couple things. They're coming off 3 straight division games. They also have a big game with Washington next week. If you're thinking, okay, we're not on anybody's radar right at the moment, this might not be a bad time to make a switch. The Chargers have some injuries on their offensive line, so they've got some stuff there. The Giants defensively need to play a much better game. I can see why you would do it. Wilson's bringing you nothing. He's not bringing anything part. If you're going to put Dart in, you're going to say, well, we're going to wait 5 or 6 games in. Here's your problem when you do that, right? If you go much further in the season, you might have guys checking out on your own team.
Right. No, right. Yeah.
And now that's a risk to him.
No,
so I think this makes sense. I'm not worried about the Chargers, not whether we win or lose. They don't scare me any more than any other team. I think the Giants just have to start doing whatever it was they put in place during the summer, and a lot of it was around what Dart does, is you got to keep building on that. And you've now got a rookie backfield, a rookie quarterback, and a rookie running back are going to be your starting tandem.
Right. And I'm not, just to be clear, John, I'm not opposing them starting.
Oh, sure.
Dart.
No, I got you. I wasn't
saying, and unfortunately, the schedule doesn't make an obvious place where to start him. Again, with the possible exception of the Saints game. But the longer they wait, they're wasting time. Cy has made the argument, and other people have made the argument that don't wreck this kid. And that is a legitimate possibility. But there are plenty of alternative examples of opposite where you do throw somebody to the wolves and it's a positive thing. We're just going to have to find out with Dart. Unfortunately, again, I know I sound like this. Wait a minute. I sound like this.
Begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
I know I sound like this. I've got a lot of problems with the New York Giants, and they're going to freaking hear about it. And they have messed this up. John, it comes back to this is they didn't want to do. I don't think they wanted to do this. Maybe Brian Daboll kind of wanted to do it, but I don't think Joe Shane wanted to do this. I don't think the organization wanted to do this. I think they were hoping they would be like 2-1 right now.
You're breaking up a lot,
and they could put this off. But now they're worried about their jobs. So it's kind of ironic though that Jaxson Dart may be the one that saves the day here.
Right.
If he, I mean, for all intents and purposes, don't you get the sense this is the only thing that can save Daboll right now?
It could be. I don't know why you're breaking up horribly right at the moment.
Yeah,
you're right. I can. Your video played clear as can be, but it's been choppy for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
I'm monitoring it. Everything on this end looks solid.
Yeah, everything on my end looks good. So
it could be with them. StreamYard had a problem the other day, and I'm pretty disappointed in that. No, I here's the thing, right? Like ultimately what we all want is if Dart is the future, and that's the big question mark. That's the if he is the future, it has to start out well. It doesn't mean he wins automatically. Doesn't mean the Giants suddenly turn everything around. What it means is he plays well enough. He shows the spark, the pieces, the glimmers that say this guy can be special. We got to build around him. You know, the Giants have talent. They have talent. Their offensive line played much better early on when Thomas was out there. I wasn't a fan of the weird 28 snap count, partly because if you do that, you pick the first 28 plays of the game. What if you're doing okay? What if you're doing well and you're like, okay, and now we're just going to yank them, and that changes everything for the rest of the game? I'd almost would have rather you didn't put them in until like the second quarter or the third quarter.
My sense is that was negotiated. There was a comment that Thomas made during his press conference late last week that to an answer to a reporter that made it sound like there was some negotiating going on between Thomas and the coaching staff about how much risk he was willing to accept. So my guess is Thomas had there was a deal there, and I can understand from both sides why they would want to limit. It sucks. It is what it is. He wasn't ready to play. The last thing you wanted him to do is come out of this game when it was 22-9 or the Chargers, when the game was getting out of hand, and have Thomas get hurt and then be gone for the year again. So I get it. And they'll probably be on an expanded. I think Cy talked about it too. Cy's with us. I think Cy talked about it too. Somebody did about he'll probably be on an expanded pitch count against the Chargers. Some people brought that up. I understand why they're doing that. And some people say, well, that's what practice is for. Well, if you're going to do that, then it would be weeks until he was going to be back, because there just isn't that much practice anymore. The Giants didn't have a padded practice last week.
Right.
So there was the only way he's going to get back into game shape is playing in games now. He missed the preseason. I know I sound like a broken record, but I've preached this for years. The CBA changed practice and changed the preseason, or the coaches have changed the preseason, and players just aren't getting ready quickly enough. So, and Dexter Lawrence is in the same boat. He's not the same player right now.
No, there's something's going on with him.
Well, it's not something. We know what's wrong with him. He's not in game shape.
They mentioned very specifically during the game that he was having some stuff done to that same elbow that he hurt last year on the sidelines during the Kansas City game, and that he had 65% of the snaps. That's not a lot of the defensive snaps. That's
right.
That's really low when you need to be a force. And that's the problem that I've always had with a guy inside. He can't take over games. If you're a losing team, you can't keep going with a 340-pound guy when you're not winning, because at some point the wear and tear will slow that dude down. Winning teams, you get away with it for a while because you've got more talent. You're winning games. You could pull them out at different times, and you've dominated some games. But if you're losing, or you're in games where you're trying to win constantly, and you're never really on top, that dude's playing a lot, and the wear and tear on a 340 body is a lot.
We'll see. Basically, he's going to take a few games to get into shape, and if he still stinks in 2 or 3 weeks, then I'll be raising the red flag, the alarm. But right now, he didn't really do that much in camp. They held him out a lot of these drills, so it's getting where it is.
Now, Eric,
the problem they have against the Chargers is the Chargers. If I'm Harbaugh, I'm running the ball down the Giants' throat all game, and the Giants have net to show that they can stop that. So that's another podcast. But
now to be clear, Eric, you are just a content creator, and Bob Papa was listening, and he has some advice.
Let's all start clapping.
See, you're just it's all good. It's all good. I was really disappointed. Bob Papa, I have zero idea if he even pays attention to us. He has been on the show with us years ago. He and I have exchanged messages on X separate of this when we were bringing Carl on. I found that thing with Bobby Skinner is ridiculous. Now, I am not the biggest Bobby Skinner guy who goes, anything Bobby says is right. We've had this conversation. But if you're going to bring stuff up and you're going to attack somebody specifically by name, and basically try to say, hey, listen, you're not in the locker room. Now you sound like Ryan Clark with the whole Peter Schrager thing. Well, you didn't play, so you shouldn't. What the hell? First off, I've been a Giants fan longer than you've been covering them, Bob, and I've followed them from the 70s all the way through. The heydays, the shitty days. I've seen good teams.
You're not in the room. You're not in the room talking.
But I have talked to plenty of players. We've talked to plenty of players, and I'll say this. Don't be an asshole. Like, it's one thing to just say, listen, there's other things going on. It's one thing to have an opinion. It's another thing to cut the other person down and try to negate them because they're not you. But you know what? I'm also not paid like you are to say things, and you can try to deny it, but it becomes even more obvious the more you fight it that's kind of where you come from. So maybe just shut up. The Giants have been bad for so long. How do you get excited calling the games anymore? Really?
It's another symptom of the rot that has taken over the organization. And it's just, it's stupid. First of all, punching down is just really stupid. And he's punching down. They're concerned. My opinion is they're concerned. Bobby's got a big audience. He's got a lot of followers. So they don't like, I hate this phrase, influencer. He's an influencer, and they don't want him putting out bad vibes. Win some games, Giants. And
right. I mean,
Cy's still here. Cy was tweeting about this too, and he's right. Their egos are involved here, and no one comes off. Look, Bobby is entitled to his opinion as an American citizen. He's allowed to say what he believes. It doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. I happen to think he's right, but he's allowed to say what he feels. He loves the Giants like us. He's not trying to hurt you, the team guys. He's just tired of it, like the rest of us, of losing year after year after year, and to the point where the fucking season is over in September or October. And here we are again. And so he's not trying to hurt you guys. And when you come out, and I know there's context here, but it did sound like this when you come out and you're the guys that you and I, again, we love too, the Sean O'Hara's of the world, the Carl Banks was on with us. We love Carl Banks.
Absolutely.
But I used to quote this earlier this week from one of my favorite movies, Outlaw Josie Wales. Don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining. Don't tell me the Giants are close. They're not close. You're 0-3. You're one of the worst teams in the NFL again, and you're going to be vying for one of the top picks in the draft. Don't tell me they're close. And that's all Bobby was laughing at. And then they decided to punch down. The thing is, what a stupid move by them, because all they did was bring attention to it. You know, that was just dumb. It was Bob, if you're listening, I don't know if you're out there. Look, again, much respect to you, your career and what you've accomplished. And Carl, I will always love you. But my God, use your head. Don't punch down like that. All you did was bring attention to it.
If Bob had backed off and let Carl say what Carl wanted to say, which was Carl's point was Bobby shared a clip that wasn't the entire conversation of what Carl was saying.
Right.
And that's all he said. He clearly said, I like Bobby, respect Bobby, but if you're going to do that, share the whole clip. Don't just do the one thing. That's when Bob took it further and made it borderline personal, right? Made it like, you're just this. When you do just this,
it was nasty.
Here's the problem that I have with that. And you and I have talked about this. This went back to the summer. The Giants have consistently, as an organization, have ignored their fans who do stuff like we do. They've wanted nothing to do with it. But then all of a sudden, when training camp came around, they picked some people, some creators, but they were very pro-Giants creators, people who made funny little videos or things, not doing shows like we do. That's who they picked. There was a number of people they ignored, and it seemed very odd. So now here you are. Now you're talking about creators, just creators. I'm thinking the Giants embraced that when they brought it upon themselves to pick only the ones that they thought would say nice things about them. And it is like state-run media. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's borderline like we're watching the Communist Chinese Party, right, doing the news. I'm like, it's horrifyingly bad when you turn on the people that actually are following you, by the way. Just because somebody has their own show doesn't mean they don't follow your show. And now you just shit on them. You just told anybody who watches you can't have an opinion. You can't say what you can't do that because you're not us.
It's bigger than that, because by implication, the unspoken thing is the fans are stupid. So right, it doesn't even matter that you and me are saying this, or there are dozens of Giants podcasts. Like we're not one of the big guys out there. We're we hopefully someday
we should be.
But let's check the ego at the door. But
we're original. We're the OGs. We're also old.
But it's by implication, what Bob was saying was, fans, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't have the access to the team that I do.
You're not in the locker room.
More than you. Yeah. But guess what, Bob? The fans have been more right than you have been over the last 13 years. And that's the brutal truth. And you and I have been too optimistic about this team. The fans that were the naysayers are the ones that ended up being correct. Free Go Terps. Go Terps. Before somebody puts that out there. This is what the problem is when you attack the fans, when the fans have largely been correct, it even looks worse. And that's what's kind of been happening. So don't, we probably shouldn't spend any more time on this. And I hope Bob's not mad at us. He probably is, but we're trying to help him too. But there's a way. People brought it up. John Schmelk covers this team very fairly. Right. There's a way to cover the team without sounding like Baghdad Bob, without sounding like state-run media. And John Schmelk does it probably as well as he can, and that's the model I think to follow. So, but that's my final thoughts on that. So
yeah, I mean, look, overall, I've been accused of being an optimist. You come off as more of a pessimist. No offense.
It depends.
No offense. Recently, and I come up with
yes.
And I tend to be less about, I don't ever look at it that way. I look at what can happen in this particular game. I don't let the history bother me. I say this is what needs to, and this is what could happen. It's not unrealistic. It's just unfortunately every time though, what happens is somehow the Giants find a way to just make even that look bad. And yes, are we? By the way, I did not say, Leon, I did not say 9 wins. I said 8, but now I don't know. In all honesty, I'm not giving up on anything right now. What I want to see is Dart. I want to see Dart and some of those guys, because if they don't do it with the guy that you picked, right? This is what we're talking about. Brian Daboll, this is his guy. He wanted him. That was obvious. You don't say I love you to the quarterback you just drafted unless that's your dude. Now you got to prove it. It sucks that puts a lot of pressure on the kid, but that's just the way it is. He's going to have to win some games, and there are winnable games down the road if you think about like what could happen. But also, I could also look at it and go, if some of those things don't happen, there could be no wins.
Oh yeah.
I feel better though that Dart would be playing from an emotional standpoint for the rest of the team. I think Wilson brought nothing emotionally on the field to the team.
Before people think that we're being way too pessimistic, or I'm being pessimistic by saying this team might not win another game, when Eli Manning came in, he only won 1 game as a starter his rookie year after he became the starter, and it was the last game of the year, and they barely won that game on a team arguably that was more talented than the Giants field right now. So that's a debate for another day. But that Giants team was 5-4, and I would take their defense and that offensive line over the one we've got right now. But that's a debate for another day. But that Eli Manning, who's won 2 Super Bowl of MVPs, was terrible his rookie year.
It was bad.
So just keep that. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. I ran a poll today that on X, and again, remember, everyone's like super jacked and excited right now. And I said, are you willing to basically allow Dart to take the up and downs, or does he have to play immediately? And 20%, 1 out of 5 people said he's got to play well immediately. And that's not the right attitude to go into this. It doesn't happen that way in the NFL. And I had people arguing back with me that it would be ridiculous not to expect Dart to play great immediately. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. It doesn't work that way. So here's a question to you, right? Let's
talk about that for a minute. What is well to you? Because what I've seen with Russell Wilson, let's take out the Dallas game for just a minute. And somebody made a great point. We'll come back. I'll come back to the Dallas game in a second. The Washington game, I was there. I was there for the Dallas game, and I had really good seats, so I was able to. I really clear view when they were, especially towards the end zone, when they were in the red zone early on, where they ended up not getting in. I got a really good view of everything that was going on. That team that I saw with Russell Wilson struggled mightily in a number of areas. Shorter passes across the middle were a problem. Intermediary middle passes didn't seem to work out. The offensive line obviously was a little bit of an issue, but again, Wilson he didn't adapt. He was quick to bring his eyes down, which is not good when you're already a freaking midget. When you bring your eyes down, it's over. And that was hard. So he'd kind of run around a little bit. So what would you say, Dart coming in, and let's assume Andrew Thomas is playing a little bit. What is success to you with Dart?
Keeping mistakes to a minimum, but there are going to be mistakes. Remember, when he was playing in the preseason, teams weren't shifting their coverages. They weren't disguising their coverages. It was pretty vanilla for him. So now he's going to now defensive coordinators are going to play all kinds of games. It's the same thing when think of it this way. If you're a New York Giants fan, think about if you can remember a time when the Giants were good. But if you could, as a New York Giants fan, you used to be like, oh, we got a rookie quarterback. And because when you face a rookie quarterback, he's a rookie and you can do things to him to rattle him and confuse him. So those are the kinds of things. So what I'm hoping against the Chargers is that there are enough glimpses of, wow, there's a throw here or throw there. And he doesn't throw 3 pick sixes, or have, that kind of meltdown, it's respectable. And then what I'm hoping is that when they play the Saints the following week, we'll see more from him against a weaker team. That's what I'm hoping. If he does more than what I'm expecting, fantastic. But I'm going to keep my expectation level realistic, because I've seen Hall of Fame quarterbacks as rookies struggle, and we don't know what Jaxson Dart's going to be, but the odds are he's not going to be Jaden Daniels or Dan Marino. He's going to probably go out there against a very good Chargers team, arguably, again, one of the best teams in the NFL, and maybe the best team in the AFC right now. And he's not going to be favored to win this game. He's not. And again, surrounding all of this again is, I think most of the Giants fandom kind of is really down on the coaching staff right now. So if you don't believe in the coaching staff, why would you believe the coaching staff is going to put him in a good position to succeed? That's my concern right now. I know that sounds negative. I'm trying to tap down expectations, because I know, and again, I want to watch the Giants not because of Dart, but you better be prepared. He's not going to light it up. It's not This isn't Madden, in other words.
23 of 36, 336, 2 touchdowns, 4 for 28, 2 other touchdowns. What am I talking about?
His preseason? I don't know.
Talking about Daniel Jones' first game as the New York Giants quarterback when he played Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A team, again, it was a different team. It's a different time. But the fact of the matter is, here's a guy who just came in. Expectations were that he'd be different than Eli, but nobody knew that he was going to do that. Now, who knew what was going to happen later? But one of the things I think that your thoughts on what to expect is perfect, because I think some people are expecting one of two things. He's going to step on the field, and he is Patrick Mahomes 2, and Super Bowls are just down the road. And other people are thinking he's going to come in and he's going to be absolutely horrible. I don't think either of those two things. I'm not entirely sure yet what we're going to see, but what I saw in the preseason, I don't care about coverages. You know why? Because you're also running a very vanilla offense too. So it's kind of the same. He doesn't really have a lot of experience, but guess what? The Chargers have no film on him. None whatsoever. What they have is 3 straight games of the Giants playing with Russell Wilson. The Giants are going to run a different offense with Jaxson Dart. The question will become, is the offense that they are going to run really the offense they wanted to run all along, and they just didn't want to force him in the game yet, and Russell wasn't going to run some of those things, but now they can? Does that open the playbook for them to do some of the things that we talked about?
Who knows with this coaching staff?
We'll see. We'll see. And we'll talk about the Chargers in a different podcast for that particular game. But one of the things that I think about a lot is that I think right now, this concept of you're going to ruin them if you play them early. Why? What's the difference if I play them now or 8 weeks from now when half the team is injured because the losses had piled up and no one cares, and now you're putting them on the field against teams that still want to win because they're going for the playoffs? Now you're seeing nothing. If he's going to play and he's going to be okay, he's going to survive in New York, then he's going to be okay. If he sinks, if he's Zach Wilson, then what do we care? Why are we worried about it? Let's weed it out now and get it over with, and we'll figure it out in the offseason. You only worry about ruining him if you're really questioning whether this guy can play or can't play. I'm not worried about ruining him, because the Giants offense, I think, is going nowhere with Russell Wilson. He brings an energy that we saw it during the summer. Guys were really into it. Now, here's something else to consider. The Giants have a lot of young players. There's a lot of young players on this team. Russell Wilson was 37 years old. They don't have a whole lot in common with Russell Wilson. Jaxson Dart was their guy. Look at some of those guys coming off the sideline. Malik Neighbors, do you think he's really as excited about Russell Wilson as he is Jaxson Dart?
I don't know. I don't know. I hope he.
Common sense says he's way more into the Dart thing. He was interested in who the Giants were going to draft for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I never saw that thing with him and Wilson. He was frustrated week 1.
Did you see the clip? Did you see the clip of Malik Neighbors and Odell Beckham and Antonio Pierce talking?
I did see that. See that.
All right. Yeah. After the game. I don't disagree with what you said, except for one thing. And I can understand the argument, both sides of the argument, to play him and not to play him so soon. And I don't think there's a correct answer. I think different people respond differently. We're just going to have to see how Jaxson does. Look, a lot of this is moot. He's going to play. So the debate this endlessly right now doesn't make any sense because the decision's already been made. But I do, and you bring up a great point about, if players start to check out and injuries and all that. But there's also the counter argument is he will have more time to assimilate to the NFL system, and he sits in the quarterback room, and it's a classroom, and he's learning from Russell, and he's learning from Jameis, but now he's the guy. So I don't think we should spend a lot of time on it. If Jaxson seems to have the kind of personality that he'll thrive in that situation, we're just going to have to pray that he does. I hope the coaching staff puts him puts him in position to succeed. And that's what I'm hoping for. And the other thing that you said that is true, but there's a caveat there. Yes, he's young and he's enthusiastic, and Wilson wasn't doing it for them. But the enthusiasm will only be there as long as Jaxson Dart has some success. So if it's the same results as or worse than Wilson, that positive vibe is going to go out the door right away too. So in order to keep that positive vibe and have his teammates excited about him, he's got to have some success on the field too.
I would agree with that, but where I think about the excitement part,
mm-hmm.
I almost think a little of it isn't really, if I'm the coaching staff, and I would do things a lot differently if I was, but if I'm the coaching staff, I'm actually looking for it on the defensive side of the ball. I want those guys to be a little bit more excited. And I want to talk about them briefly when we get, but the Dart thing is such a big deal. I think we need to stick with it. But there was a point made a little earlier. Someone, I think Mike earlier said in his post, I don't know, Eric, if you can scroll up and see.
Oh, yeah.
He said,
Mike.
Is Daniel Jones the poster child for ruined? And I'm going to say absolutely not. Why? Because Daniel Jones played in the entire his rookie year. Eric can corroborate this because we've talked about this multiple times. Coming off the rookie year, the biggest problem Daniel Jones had was he turned the goddamn ball over so much that they tried to work with him. But he was throwing the ball down the field. Slayton had some of his best numbers. We were scoring and putting points on the board with Daniel Jones running and throwing the ball, but he turned it over a ton. That all changed the next year. They got away from him turning it over, but also he didn't throw the ball down the field. Everything became different. It had nothing to do with his rookie year. It's whatever happened, what they tried to change later.
Right.
I'm not worried about that with Jaxson Dart. Dart may turn the ball over some, but Jones was a turnover machine in his rookie year. It fumbles and interceptions, and it was a ton. And no, I don't agree with that.
And well, the problem is for the Giants is like the Barkley thing, it doesn't look good for the organization. Now, you and I can have our opinions on this, but optics-wise, this looks terrible again.
You mean for Jones playing right now?
Yeah, he looks fantastic right now. So optics-wise, an outsider looking in is going to say, and Mara might be an insider looking in this and going, what the hell? What's going on? What? But again, remember, this went over multiple coaching staffs, multiple offensive coordinators. This wasn't just look, I don't want to spend too much on Daniel Jones. Part of this might be better for Daniel to have simply gotten out of New York and away from a big market and into a smaller market where he could just relax and breathe a little bit. But look, by the time he was out of here, Daniel Jones was once again just doing retarded things out there. Sorry to use that word, but he was. I mean, the play on.
You didn't say he was. You said he was doing things that were.
Yes.
I'm just helping you.
Yes. So he was. I mean, again, we talked about the Germany game. I mean, at that point, it was like, what are you doing? So I mean, the
Giants literally gave up when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yes, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. It's working out for Daniel. We'll have to see if it continues to work out for him. But it looks terrible for the Giants right now. That's what I'm saying. Everything they touch right now turns to shit. And Daniel gets away from that, and he's succeeding again. So I'm telling you what, if I'm a Giant player in the locker room, I'm like, oh my God, maybe I should have got. I mean, Darius Slayton right now has got to be up there in terms of the players in franchise history who have lost more. You know how they always say they have a record book of how many Giants have had more wins in their career than any. And I think Phil Simms is up at the top, and Maybe Michael Strahan's up there too. But Darius Slayton's got to be down at the bottom in terms of players who have been with the team that have the most losses. There's probably somebody else in the 70s that's there too. But Darius Slayton has been here a long time.
Well, I think Harry Carson must be pretty high in the loss.
Yeah, Harry Carson's probably up there too. But Darius
George Martin.
These teams that Darius is on have been winning 3-4 games a year now. I mean, so he's got to be up there. So anyway.
You totally agree.
So Darius might have been like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have re-signed with the Jets because he had other offers. You know what I mean?
You know what? It's things that aren't related that become related just because. The Jones thing, let's see how it plays out down the road, because quite frankly, his stats aren't that spectacularly different than they were in the beginning of 22. Who the Colts have played has been very helpful. They played 2 dome games, 1 in Tennessee. We'll worry. I don't care about Jones. And quite frankly, he killed 3 coaching staff. So good luck to you. And if he does well, congrats to him, right? I don't think it means anything to the Giants. And it doesn't mean anything about Daboll, because first off, Daboll and Shane didn't draft Daniel Jones. That was Shermer and Gettleman. And then it went Judge.
That's what I mean.
Then it went Daboll. Yeah. So, you
it's a lot of people.
Coaches and players. Now, one thing you brought up that I've brought up before, we've talked about this, and this is something that I'm truly concerned about, the fact that if you want to change the culture, one of the biggest problems that you have is that you keep trying to change the culture with guys who have a history of losing, right? Darius Slayton has won nothing. They made the playoffs the one time. Mm-hmm. Dexter Lawrence has won nothing. They've made the playoffs the one time, and everything else has been really bad. You've got a lot of players on this team. Now, you brought other players in. Now, someone made a really good point earlier today that one of the big failings of Joe Shane has been some of his drafts have been good. Some of the players he's drafted has been good. They're players that really could develop. The problem is where you spent higher picks on guys or multiple picks on a position or a positional group.
Right.
They have failed. So you've gone to free agency. Usually free agency is the one guy that puts you over the top or solidifies a position. The Giants have literally, look at their offensive line. You've got Andrew Thomas. You've got a free agent guard. You've got a drafted center that you still, not sure. You got a free agent basically playing guard. And you got a free agent tackle. That's how you built your offensive line, because you drafted a tackle at 7 who has failed. You drafted Josh Azudu, who's done nothing. He's injured right now. You drafted Marcus McKeithen, who did nothing. He was injured. Now he's gone. You've literally drafted guys and had to go sign expensive free agents to not just put you over the top. That's not even all. Right. You just had to be acceptable. And we're spending some. Now you did it with a secondary. You draft Deonte Banks, we got to go sign a free agent corner to a big contract. You draft 2 safeties. You've got 2 safeties. You let one of them go that was drafted before you in McKinney. Right. You draft 2 other safeties. You feel so good about that situation, you go spend a ton of money on another safety. That's the problem that I feel like the Giants continually do with what's going on. So where you worry maybe with Dart is like, is some of the stuff with Dart really not going to be about Dart? It's going to be about some of the other stuff that they've done. I'm kind of hoping that we have enough parts that the quarterback that they brought in to bridge them, he just didn't bridge them as long as they thought. And I'm hoping that Dart will be. We talked about, and one of the questions I asked you, and I went with the 2, and then I brought up the third one, I think 2 podcasts later. We said, here's the scenarios, right? Scenario 1, Eli Manning. About 9 games in, you make the switch, you go from there. Scenario 2, Patrick Mahomes. 16 games in, he plays in game 17.
Right.
That's it, and you worry about next year. The third option was Daniel Jones. 2 games into the season or early in the season, you're just like, the guy that's been here just can't get it done. We're making a switch.
Right.
That's what happened. That's what this is. This is Eli Manning being pulled after the Bills game. This is them going into the next game. The difference here is they did it going on the road. This is being at home. So there is, but I almost wonder if that is strategically as well. The crowd was predominantly Chiefs fans. There was so much red in that crowd. It was sickening to look at.
I don't think this is similar to the Eli Manning season, though. This is completely different because Tom Coughlin wasn't worried about his job. This is Brian Daboll.
True, there is that. There is that.
This is Brian Daboll panicking. So, look. Unfortunately, what's happened is their plans did not go the way they wanted. This defense isn't playing the way they expected it to play. They kept the wrong defensive. They kept Shane Bowen. That was a mistake. This offense isn't performing the way they thought. The offensive line isn't performing the way they thought. So they're throwing a Hail Mary right now, pun intended, to Jaxson Dart. And Jaxson Dart, God bless him, maybe he'll save their asses. So I'm hoping that's what I'm looking forward to now. Is I'm excited. I hope people still listening to us right now aren't like, oh Jesus, Eric's so negative about everything. I want to see Jaxson Dart. My kids, my daughter called today. She's like, "Are you excited? Are you excited?" You know, so my kids are like, so everyone's excited. I'm just trying to remind everyone they're playing the Chargers on Sunday. It's not going to be pretty. If he upsets the Chargers, then you're going to see me go, yeah. You know, you're going to be seeing me coming on here and go, yeah. But I am trying. Yeah. I am preparing myself because I watched a lot of football. That it's not going to. The Chargers are not quaking. John's made up some good points. The Chargers haven't seen Dart. They're probably going to be tinkering to the offense. It's going to surprise them a little bit, but we are still talking about a Super Bowl contender team playing one of the worst teams in the NFL with a rookie quarterback in his first game. I'm not placing money on the New York Giants in that scenario. So if they upset them, I'll be thrilled. But guys, don't lose your shit if Dart doesn't play well. And he might not play well this whole year. That's my point. So then we get into a really ugly situation. That's a future podcast. Do the Giants go into the next year with Jaxson Dart, or do they draft a quarterback?
Well, let's tamp that conversation down. He hasn't even taken a snap yet.
I still got people on my feed going draft Archie Manning. I mean,
give me a break.
So that's where a lot of anyway. So that's where we are.
Well, let's real quick. I mean, because we'll keep it a little tight, but I know a lot of people said don't try to be too tight. I don't want to go too long.
One guy who said go 3 hours.
I'm not doing 3 hours. I don't want to go too long. I do have a day job, and it's been a long.
I told my wife I would.
I got a lot going on. I'll send out positive thoughts to my dad who says chemo tomorrow. Thumbs up. He's the strongest man I've ever met in my life. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do what he's doing. Okay, so Dart is the guy. Dart's going to play. We don't know what we're going to get. I like what Trainmaster brought up here about the defense. So let's stop with the Dart thing for just a second. Let's kind of turn because I want to talk about a couple things. I was very disappointed. I guess. No, I'm going to admit it. I was extremely disappointed in Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter, totally, if you're going to be, and I'm not saying you are, but if you're going to be in the same realm of a Micah Parsons or in Giants lore of a Lawrence Taylor, a Carl Banks, something like that, you got a fucking chance to take a quarterback down before the end of the first half. You don't let him just kind of brush you off. You make that tackle. I was very disappointed in some of the play. Now, I think he's all over the place, and I like that. They use him in the middle. That's different. We talked about by necessity. They had to. But I was disappointed that he did not. One guy that I've been ragging on a lot in the offseason about maybe we need to move on from him, Kavon Tibido comes to play week in and week out where he's playing a very strong game. I thought Abdul Carter came up a little short from where he was drafted. Your thoughts?
I'm not worried about him. He's a rookie.
No, but I mean the game, not long term.
This game was lost in the pregame. As soon as Gano was out, I knew the game would lose that game. As soon as Gano was out, I knew the game was over. And then what sealed it for me beyond any shadow of a doubt was Okereke having the ball ripped out of his hands by the quarterback on a fumble.
Oh my God!
So, the game was over at that point. I could just feel it. But as soon as the Gano situation happened, I'm like, oh, that's the game, because you knew it, because the football gods once again. But again, that's another thing everything the Giants have decided. Again, it's Costanza, do everything they've decided. They gambled on bringing Gano back, and Didn't work out. They gambled on Hudson. That Hudson would be able to handle the left tackle spot. They gambled that Shane Bowen was going to be a good defensive coordinator. I mean, we could go down the list. They keep gambling and losing.
So let's talk about that real quick, because you used the word gamble, and I don't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's worse than that. We talked about this, right? In the offseason, we talked about where the Giants were salary cap wise. I listed a bunch of players that I thought would go. I thought Daniel Bellinger would go. I thought Graham Gano. And here's why
you said Nunez Roches too.
And I have a real problem with Graham Gano.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a Super Bowl team? Are you
I got a lot of problems with you people.
Well, but my point is, are you a Super Bowl team? No.
No.
Are you a borderline NFC champion? No. Why do I need a 38, whatever he is, effing year-old kicker? Because I need that guy who could make the clutch kick when I'm a 3-fucking-win team from the year before. A kicker's not the difference between 3 and 10 wins, so I'm not overly concerned about that. But $4 million is a big deal to carry for a guy who gets injured, and I love the way they said it. He got injured during defensive introductions. So while you're introducing your defense, guys who have to do some really physical shit, you fucking hurt yourself. Like, how does that happen 2 years in a row?
Again.
Begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
I mean, there we go. So
I couldn't believe it when they said it. I was like, are you serious? You can't possibly be telling the truth. And sure enough, and then what does Daboll say?
Didn't you know
it's
the game
okay.
was over then?
Gillian also kicks.
Didn't you know the game was over when that?
Oh my God!
Didn't you know that they were going to miss the extra point if they scored? Didn't you know that?
Oh, absolutely. And he's like, it's okay. Gillian kicks in practice too. I'm like, he's not even a great punter. Let alone a fucking field goal kicker. Why are we carrying this guy?
This team needs an enema, to quote Batman.
Yes.
This team needs an enema. This is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
But we can all feel it.
This is the Joker from 1999 Batman.
Sean O'Hara comes on and tells us his team isn't that bad. Fuck, Sean, I love you, but fuck you. Come on.
Yeah, it's
Jesus Christ. And you're probably out there nodding your head if you're out there, and you know you have to be state-run media. But Jesus Christ. Anyway,
when you shoot yourself in the foot, like you literally like. Again, I don't understand. It's not like the Giants bringing on Matt Barr, who was right. What, 37, 38, whatever years old he was when the Giants brought him on, because that was a Super Bowl contending team. I need a guy who can clutch kick. I'll worry about if he's going to get injured. That's fine. It's not, I'll deal with it, but I need that guy. I want to trust him.
Right.
And I'll pay him more. Why are we paying $4 million? We came off 3 wins. Were any of those
fourth highest paid kicker in the NFL?
By the way, were any of those wins by a late second field goal? Because if they weren't, then I don't know what the fuck we're paying this dude for.
Look.
That's ridiculous.
In their defense, it was looking like a reasonable thing to bring him back because the way he kicked in the preseason and early on in the season, it looked reasonable. But now it looks stupid. It looks stupid. So.
I know what you're saying, and you're right about the way you're saying. No. I'm not shitting. I promise, I'm not shitting on you. I agree with what you're saying about the way he played.
Yeah.
But when you had to juggle goddamn contracts right before the season started, just so you would be under the cap and have enough to even sign guys if anybody got hurt, you're carrying a $4 million kicker. Right. Why the hell did you go cheap in the offseason?
The Patty Trina just tweeted out they're like 1.3 or 4 million under the cap right now. They're going to have to renegotiate somebody's. It's just. Oh,
so do you? All right. So let's.
All right, I do want to end on a positive note with Dart. So
that's criminal. That's criminal negligence. That's on Shane, though. That's on Shane. Brian Daboll does not get to make a decision of whether you're going to keep a $4 million kicker or they go, listen, go get a cheaper guy. That's on Shane. That's you. That's how you handled your salary cap. You said, that's fine. We'll go with a $4 million kicker because God forbid we don't make that one field goal to get 2 wins instead of 1. But
Yeah, do they get a bonus in their check?
Right? What? That's the part. Like, if you really want to just completely shit on Giants ownership, that's the one part where you could say that that's what they would probably be doing, getting rid of guys, keeping some money, not spending money, go cheap. The Giants don't go cheap. We always end up overpaying. Like, we literally buy trash and then tell you that it's a treasure.
Okay. So let's finish up and get back on track here with Dart. I do have a question for you. Do you think, I think you answered this already. Do you think Daboll wanted Dart before this?
Yes. I think the preseason really opened the door, but no Andrew Thomas. You're juggling something. Malik Neighbors really didn't play at all. I think he wanted to the second they made him the number 2, an active number 2, meant that at any moment he's the guy on the field if Russell Wilson were to get hurt. I think he wanted to. I think it's been just eating at him to do it, and this gave him the opportunity. Dallas, let me ask you. I'm going to ask you. Let me change the question.
It's not out of the realm of possibility that Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka intentionally screwed the Giants' offense just so they could have justification to put Dart in there. So
you could argue that, but you almost could argue that they had no choice but to run a limited version. For Wilson. Wilson can't do certain things. It's pretty obvious.
I'm just joking. I'm just throwing that out.
Well, let me ask you this though. Let's say the results of week 1, and this is for everybody in chat too. The results of week 1 stay the same. Okay. Giants offense does next to nothing. They score 6 points. They look like shit during the entire game. Week 3, everything stays the same. Giants offense struggles. They got the 6. They couldn't get the extra point. Wilson looks like shit at the end of the game. But week 2, they win that game instead of lose that game. Okay? So not a whole lot changes. Dallas misses the field goal. The Giants win the game 37-34. Do the Giants make the switch to Dart after the game being 1-2, but still looking like complete shit in week 1 and week 3?
It's a good question. What do you think?
I think it would be certainly on the table, because I think the Giants could have blown Dallas out if they hadn't screwed around in the first half and been bad. They had to keep coming back on Dallas, but they literally could have put Dallas away early. They could have been on. Chicago took a lead on Dallas and stayed on top of Dallas because they scored early and then they continued to do it. That put Dallas behind the 8 ball. But
we got to make the assumption that, remember, Dart, we can't make the assumption that Dart wouldn't make rookie mistakes.
No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the reason you're picking it now isn't just because they're 0-3.
Right.
It's because the offense was so bad in week 1 and was so bad again in week 2 or week 3. So a win or a loss doesn't change a whole lot. The points are still the same, right? We counted on Dallas not making that field goal. That's ultimately what it came down to. Dallas makes it. They end up winning in overtime. But if they miss the field goal, so nothing else changes, it's all the same, do you make the change? I think Daboll still does. I think the offense struggled so badly in both week 1 and week 3 that he can justify wanting to make that change.
It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. We'll never know the answer. It's an interesting. I will say that the one thing that's floating around my head, I don't want to get people's hopes up or anything, but it's the one thing that Jaxson Dart could really excite the fan base if something happens in the next few weeks, and that is he becomes the first quarterback in a game that matters to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So we've beaten them at the end of the year when it didn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if one of those 2 games somehow Jaxson Dart beats the Eagles, either at MetLife or in Philadelphia, the excitement level will go through the roof with Giants fans, even if the Giants aren't having a lot of success in the win-loss column. I think there's an opportunity here for him to personally to really cement some extra goodwill with the fan base if he can somehow pull that off. And I think the Eagles are not as strong as they've been. I still think they're very, very good. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But I do think
they should have lost to the Rams.
the
Rams blew it.
But they blew it. And again, I think let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens. I'm hoping there's a game here, a game there they can steal. The Giants can steal. And hopefully one of those is those Philadelphia games, because those Philadelphia games are looming. They're going to be on us very quickly. And Daboll has got to start winning a game again in the NFC East, or he's toast. He can't go winless in the NFC East again and expect to keep his job. I mean, if Dallas sweeps them, and the Eagles sweep them, and anyways.
I mean, Dallas is borderline heading to an epic collapse. They're not good. The Giants should have beaten them. They've got injuries.
They got injuries now.
They're not very happy with the fact that they traded Parsons. They've got a game with, I believe they play Green Bay this week. There's a lot going on there. Dallas could collapse by the end of the year. The Giants have to win. The Giants have to win games in their division. That's number one.
People's got to win a division game, or why do you bring them back if you can't win in the division?
Agreed.
Right?
So this Chargers game, and we're going to talk about the Chargers game later in the week, is more important.
Anything else before you do that? Anything else with the last game, Kansas City?
Well, with the last game, I'll say this. I really was impressed with how well Andrew Thomas, I know I talked about it earlier, how well he played with no preseason, no, as you said, no padded practices really. You saw a guy that moves very well. He knows how to play the position. He walls his guys off. And I thought it actually upped the level of the other guys on the offensive line. The one thing that we need to remember, and when Bo came in, and I don't criticize Bo for struggling a little bit. The Chiefs have a really good defensive line. But when you have a quality group that works together, last year we saw it early on too. The Giants' offensive line was not that bad early on. It wasn't until Thomas gets hurt, some other stuff starts happening, they start to fall apart. If Thomas can solidify that line, that takes pressure off. Guys don't have to double team. They don't have to worry about helping the left tackle. The left tackle is going to handle his shit. Illuminor handles his stuff. He might not be an A+ guy, but you know what? Go back and look at the Giants, their lunch pail guys from back in the day, the Suburbanites.
Right.
There was not a great player on that offensive line. They were a great offensive line together. I think Thomas solidifies one side, Illuminor handles the other. The guards are a little concerning to a degree, and Schmitz. But Schmitz played well early on, and then I think fatigue set in, and then they just started getting overrun. I think that brings a lot. I was really happy with that. The defense, I thought, played fairly well, but they continue to not make the big play to change things. The difference between them and 11, 07, 80, 90, 86, those teams would make plays that literally changed the game. They would sack guys. They would create fumbles. They would get the ball. The Giants are the almost team. They almost get there. They almost make the play. Paulson and Daboll dropped not one, but two interceptions that he could have had. You got to catch those. You have to make plays. Linebackers, I don't think a lot of because they were so injured, but Bozeman, he held his own for a guy. He wasn't really exposed. We are woefully thin at inside linebacker, though.
Yeah, this is a big problem. Is they got to start getting freaking turnovers. Just get the freaking ball.
And that Bobby Okereke one would have changed. Could have potentially
changed the whole complexion. And Cy pointed it out, but I think all of us knew that was a big. Again, like I said, I thought they were toast as soon as the Gano was hurt, but when that play happened, I'm like, oh, we're not winning this game. I mean, it's just what you can just almost feel it. It's almost like, again, it's like the universe is telling you it's not your decade.
So what do you think? So what do you think? All right, let's set aside we don't know.
Okay.
Right? We don't know some things, okay? But what do you think about the potential triplet or that we have of if Dart is the guy and if he can play well, and he's got his young rookie running back, they're coming in together. So it's a nice come, and then Neighbors. That nice little threesome there. Scataboo just brings some. You were very early on. I thought Scataboo would take longer because he missed so much time in the preseason.
Yeah.
He just brings something different to the table for that offense.
Yeah.
And you mix him with Dart.
Yeah.
And now you've got that. There's just an energy. Sometimes it's mental that really plays the difference between teams.
I wish we had two big physical guards, and then we bring off, and I'm going to sound like Manny now, and we bring off Chapman as our fullback and just run the ball with Scataboo while we're getting Dart accustomed to run play action and get him used to this. But the Giants aren't built that way. But I'd be kind of, they've got so many injuries, I don't think they can bring Chapman up. But I'd be tempted to bring Chapman up and playing some power football. Again, I don't expect them to beat the Chargers. What I'm trying to do is not get into a 30-3 game where the defense has quit and Dart's running for his life and they're just teeing off on him. That's what I'm trying to shorten the game, make it manageable, and hoping Dart makes a play here, play there, and keep the game low scoring. That's what I would do. I don't think they're going to do that, but
I think they need to look back. You don't want to look back, right? But what did Joe Shane said? Past performance is an indicator for future success. So go back to what you did against Green Bay in 22. Go back to what you did against the Ravens in 22. Those were teams that were better than you, but yet you schemed your way and you attacked them in such a way that you can get. Paul, to answer your question, the Chargers play Washington next week. So they're kind of thinking ahead. It could be thinking ahead. 1 o'clock East Coast game. This is the Giants need to get out early. They got to do something early. But we'll talk about that game a little bit.
We'll talk about that. I do want other question. You said something. Limelight said earlier that Daboll ruined Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had arguably his best season under Daboll in 2022. So
I think injuries ruined his neck injuries really sapped any potential that he was going to be. I think
that's another thing. But remember the Daniel Jones era spanned 3 coaching staffs, so I would anyways.
So one thing I would say though, you just mentioned it. I think you can find a way to get Chapman on the field for this game, and that is you would have to do this, and I don't know that they would. I would make inactive, and you're gonna disagree with me.
But remember, Chapman's on the practice squad. They're going to have to.
I understand, but he still has to come up. But somebody has to be inactive in order.
They can only do 2, but the kicker's got to come up, and they got to bring up another linebacker.
But you could technically sign the kicker and not just bring him up.
You could do that.
But what I would do is I would make inactive Manhurts. He brings little other than just blocking. According to Cy, Johnson is showing that he can be a blocker.
Mm-hmm.
I want Chapman on the field for 2 things. I can play him an inside linebacker slightly on short yardage stuff. I could bring him in and he could just be a guy that just goes forward. I can bring him in as short yardage fullback. I'm with you. I want a guy that brings one extra really big helmet, big head, big shoulders, big pop at the line of scrimmage in short, because you're going to have to run some. You're going to have to use Cam Scataboo. And the biggest thing you got to be careful of, you can't go passive blocking and then have Scataboo just blast through guys, or he's not going to last 8-9 games in the season. The dude's going to be dead. You've got to be able to get, and I think I like Chapman coming in. Look at how other teams do it. Many other teams put a big guy in the backfield. If you're not going to activate Neal and you're not going to use him for anything, you got to have somebody who can block. I don't like Bellinger lining up as a fullback. He brings very little to that position.
Yeah. Well, the other question is, do they bring Turbo Miller up? So they've got.
What do you think? What do you think there?
The problem is it's a numbers game at this point, so that you can't. People are saying, yeah, bring this guy, bring this guy. They can only bring 2 up, and so it's question of who. And some of it's going to be determined by injuries. So we're going to have to find out what the injury report is. Is Muasau back from his concussion / eye I don't know if anyone picked up that, but they listed.
Yeah, that was weird. I saw that.
I don't know what that's all about, but it's concussion/eye injury. So it just depends on. But if you're going to do Chapman, I wouldn't cut. I would have Manhurts playing because again, he's your. I know what he's saying, but you almost go 2 tight ends, and I know that sounds too old school. Paul Kelly already said it. He's like, Eric, those days are old. I still have those dates in my mind though, and when I look at, and I've said this since they draft or before they drafted Scataboo. Remember, I was like kind of lobbying for Scataboo before they drafted.
Yep.
He reminds me of a throwback player. I almost want to just like see him touch the ball 25 times and see what he can do and wear down a defense. I'm kind of would like to see that, but I just don't know if we have the offense to do that.
I do think it's funny, and I don't know how to say this. For those who don't know me very well, just before I say the next thing, I think I need to clarify. No. Just to be clear, my household is a mixed race household. I have both mixed race.
Now you're really scaring me.
No. I have mixed race daughters. I have black daughters. So before I make the statement, I'm not just like, oh, let me just champion this. No, I mean, I have a very mixed race household. I think it's funny that everybody who sees Cam Scataboo, everything that they go, he reminds me of. It's always another white running back. It's Doug Kotar. It's Rob Carpenter. It's like Mike Allstott, but smaller. You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Two guys. One played for Dallas, and this is going back in the old days. He reminds me of Robert Newhouse, and he reminds me of Ahmad Bradshaw. He runs like Ahmad Bradshaw looked for freaking people to run into. He didn't try to avoid guys. He was not that big. Marion Barber is another good example of that too. Cam Scataboo looks for contact. Did you see that play when he was running down the sidelines? He could have just ducked out of bounds. He lowered his helmet and put it right in the dude's chest.
That's what Walter Payton used to do. Walter Payton never ran out.
He made people pay. He made people pay.
But Scataboo to me doesn't remind me of anyone because he's just so short and his legs are so short.
He is. He's
physically, he doesn't remind me of anybody. But anyways, I like him. I hope he holds up. He's fun. So I agree with you in this sense that I think the positive, if you're looking for a silver lining for the Giants moving forward, Dart brings energy, Scataboo brings energy, Malik can bring energy. We'll see if the team rallies around that. We'll see if the defense can rally around that. You mentioned earlier, Kavon Tibido is playing well, and I hope people are recognizing that. Brian Burns is playing well, and I hope people recognize that. I don't worry about Abdul.
Burns is crazy good right now.
And I don't worry about Abdul Carter. We need Dexter to come round into form. Darius Alexander didn't play.
He played.
Starting to show some life. Again, it's a rookie. He's gonna up and down, up and down, up and down. We need Javon Holland and Paulson Daboll to start earning their paychecks. We need Tyler Newman to start making some plays. So hopefully Muasal's back. So maybe they can start rallying around the energy that the young guys provide. I think the key, and then we're running late too, but I think the key.
No, it's fine.
The key moving forward for this is can Dart and Scataboo and Malik give the team enough energy that they can turn this around a little bit, because I'm getting a really bad vibe in the post-game interviews now. The team looks shell-shocked right now. I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you see the players and Daboll looks shell-shocked again, they need some kind of jolt of life. That's what I'm saying.
And I think that was today. I think that was also part of the reason they didn't wait any longer. You know, watching the tape. What a fucking joke, by the way. Watching the tape had to have been.
Sorry, you lost me.
Watching the tape. Just saying, watching the tape. It's such a. First off, it's so old to even say that.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, I'm surprised the Giants don't just bring out a bunch of still pictures the way that we play shit. When they watched it, though, they had to have seen the number of plays that were missed. Now, unfortunately, I saw a couple of times. Yeah, sorry, Paul. I saw a couple of times the Darius Slayton. What bothers me the most with Darius Slayton, he makes catches and he turns the wrong way every time first, and then decides to get it and just go upfield as far as you can and get and go where you can go. He cost himself a first down deep in Chiefs territory by catching it and then sort of turning, and then I'm like, what Just go. Just catch it and go. Stop trying to turn back. You're not good enough. But if you're going to double Neighbors, which they did, they doubled Neighbors like crazy.
Right.
You made a good point. The Giants did absolutely nothing schematically to move Neighbors to get him open. It was literally just run whatever coverage. Now, they played what they kept saying was split safety. So basically 2 deep safeties.
Right.
That's why the Giants ran early on. The Giants didn't stick with it, though, and sometimes you can't. Like, you get a penalty, you only get 1 or 2 yards, you're stuck in second down and long, now you got to throw.
Right.
They couldn't take advantage of the middle of the field. They could not take advantage of the middle of the field. Theo Johnson had the one big catch, and it sounds great. He looked like Bavaro for a second, pushing people and whatever. The problem is 1 catch. It's not 2 catches, 3 catches, 4 catches, and he's inflicting. It's 1, and that's it. Is it the quarterback? I don't know. We're about to find out. But I just think that the Giants themselves, you brought up the simplicity of their offense. I've said this numerous times, and again, what do I know, right? I'm not in the locker room. My biggest problem with the Giants is the complexity of the offense pre-snap. Yeah, guys are constantly moving. We're shifting to move over. They bring the play clock way down. This is not a new thing. This happens all the time. You're moving all this shit, and then the play is basic. The play is unbelievably basic. I'm like, why did you spend so much time being so
all that movement's confusing them. Like, that's why they score 9 points a game. No,
the only people you confuse is yourself. Like,
what's weird is they were more creative in the preseason than they've been in the regular season. We saw screens, we saw passes. Remember when they played
That's what I wanted to ask you.
They played a ton. Remember that first preseason game? They threw the tight end a ton. It was nothing but It was nothing but passes to the tight end.
Yes, your tight end is now in Miami.
It was Theo Johnson, it was Daniel Bellinger, it was the good guy in Miami.
Dulcich, yep.
Yeah, it was all these guys. They throw the Fedoni. I mean, and it's like, all right. And it was like, oh my God, Russell Wilson's actually thrown to the tight end.
Here's something to think about. You mentioned this just a little while ago, so I want to bring it up about the Giants bringing Turbo Miller up. If you remember correctly, Dart was throwing to Miller a lot. Screens, where he would drop back and dump it off, and his speed was I really think that this injury to Tracy may just be a spark that the Giants didn't even expect. Like, you get Miller out one-on-one and you can get him the ball, and Dart seems to be really good at getting the ball to the back in the flats. That seems to be something he's very good at, especially if you're worried about him running, right? Dart brings the aspect of running. If he starts moving forward. Now, Wilson does a lot where he will run parallel. He'll run parallel to the line of scrimmage. He'll drop back deeper and run parallel. Dart will move forward. We've seen it a couple of times, but he still looks down the field to throw the ball. If he were to hit Turbo Miller in the flat, that speed can become a real asset. I want to see somebody else other than Cam Scataboo bringing some stuff, because I don't think Devin Singletary can do it. I don't think he's not that guy.
Same type. I mean, he's again. They will definitely lose an outside running threat if they go both with Scataboo and Singletary. So that would be an argument to bring Miller. When I say I'm smiling, and I don't think they're going to do this, but I joked about this on the website today. Where I'll be just done is if they go into this game with Gano still on the thing, but they also bring up the kicker just in case Gano can't play, and then Gano misses a field goal and comes off limping, and then they play the other kick. Like, in other words, if they go into the game with 2 kickers, and I'm not predicting that, but that's where I would be like, all right, I'm done, So instead of having Miller or Chapman or another linebacker or whatever, so these are the types of thoughts that are in my head.
I was thinking. I mean, how lucky was it that we found a young ho walking the streets?
This is a little harsh,
but we got one.
Singletary's Russell Wilson.
I'll say this: he doesn't break. You know what he reminds me of? You remember? Was it Daboll? It might have been during Daboll's time. It had to have been during Daboll's time. We basically we got Matt Breida. We brought Matt Breida in. Who was the guy? Alfred Morris. Before that, with Joe Judge, we went and got Alfred Morris. We just get these guys, and like they can carry the ball and pick up a few yards. They're going to give you nothing else. Nothing else. I feel like Turbo, again, If Tracy's healthy, we don't have this discussion. Tracy's not healthy, you have this discussion. I want a speed back. I need somebody who can really be a threat. And by the way, he worked well with Dart. One other guy to keep an eye on. I don't think they'll do it. I've seen people in the chat, so I'm not going to take full credit for coming up with this idea. It's been in chat. I agree with it. Fedoni at tight end. He worked with Dart at the Senior Bowl.
Right.
He worked with him in the games during the preseason. They had a connection. There's something to be said about that. And if you're struggling in the red zone, I want a guy that gives me a 6'5", a 6'6" target that can get his hands up there and has a connection with my quarterback. And a quarterback who can actually see the guy and doesn't have to like hope that he's throwing it. You know, literally, we threw that one pass play to Wan'Dale Robinson where basically, if you were to make this a Lord of the Rings analogy, we basically sent back one of the shortest guys. So we took a guy from the Shire, we sent him back. We're throwing it deep down the field, right? We're looking down the field. We're hoping our little guy down the field. He's covered by a bunch of ends. No, good luck. And that's what we were trying to do. You give a guy like Dart, who's a little bit taller, a little bit more mobile, and you give him big targets in the red zone. That might be a difference. By the way, what was up with calling a running play to Russell Wilson on third down in the red zone?
Like I said, it's not just Wilson sucking. It was the play calling. So, but we should wrap this up. Look, we're an hour and 30 minutes in this.
Yeah, we'll call it.
We're getting into the Chargers game. I've told my wife it'd be 45 minutes. She was like, yeah, right. So
I told my wife it'd be less than 3 hours. I was right.
So, all right, finishing up. Dart, we're both on board. We think
Yes.
it's probably a night now, but I'm gonna again, guys. He's not. If we're here celebrating, I'll be overjoyed. But just tap down the expectation level too. If he doesn't do well, it doesn't mean he's a bust. That's what I'm telling you. It just I've seen enough of this over the years, Giants and non-Giants, to know that it's not smooth. So, but we'll see.
You never played your dodgeball?
No, I was gonna wait for it, and it didn't come up. I'll save it for next one.
All right, I have one in there too that I didn't use, and
Yeah,
I'll save it. So with that said, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, please. We are growing. I think we're at 1471 for subscribers. We're getting there.
I need to piss in my hat. I don't think anyone wants to see that.
Yeah, right. If you can dodge a wrench, I mean, come on. We got it. One of these nights, we need to do a movie one just for freaking fun.
Oh yeah, I'd love that.
For those who talked and wanted an outside BBI one, I can certainly put together a shorter, rest of the league kind of thing. I know Eric's busy. I don't want to just say I'll commit. We have another Giants one we need to do this week, which we will. It'll preview the Chargers game. I do have a day job, so that does take up a bit of my time. But that being said, we'll figure some stuff out. But I enjoy this. We are just creators, and we're not in the locker room. We don't talk. We do talk to players. We do talk to players. I told this story, and I'm going to tell it real quick. I know we're about to be done, but I think it's hysterically funny. If you believe in the secret, or you believe in any of those things that's about mindset and energy and all this stuff, I had a conversation with my daughter, Nishima. I had a conversation, and I was telling her that I had been messaging Leonard Marshall. This goes back to last year. I had been messaging with Leonard Marshall. And I got done my work day. I went downstairs, and I think I had been telling you that we're trying to, remember, we were trying to set up when Leonard was going to come on. He was waiting until the announcement came of where he was on the top 100, and that's what he wanted to arrange. So, and this was just messages back and forth. We weren't talking on the phone or anything like that. So I went downstairs, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? Nashima was like, she's like, who's Leonard Marshall? She's very young, no idea who Leonard Marshall is. I'm like, let me bring up. I brought up some videos on YouTube of Leonard Marshall. 2 seconds, and I swear to God, it was 2 seconds into the videos. My phone starts ringing, and it's Leonard Marshall calling me to come. He's like, he was so excited about coming on the show. So Bob Papa, we do talk to players. The
He
guy
meant
sitting,
current players, though. But he was talking about current.
I don't give a shit. The guy sitting next to, we used to have current players, by the way. The Giants used to work with us before they got.
Oh, they're not going to do that anymore now.
Kind of assholes, especially with the clown thing that I put out there.
Anymore.
But you know what? You should embrace the fact that you have fans who stick with you no matter how shitty your product on the field is.
That's the thing. I saw somebody tweet out again today. They're saying no one under New York roots for who's under 25 is rooting for the Giants anymore. They root for other teams because they win. So my son who came back from the Army last weekend put on the Eagles Kansas City game, and I'm like, but he was watching because he wanted to be entertained. He wasn't rooting for either team, but he just wanted to see some quality football. And so it's just anyways.
So and I know, I believe, and Eric probably believes it even more than I do. I know they pay attention to shit. So again, Giants, John Mara, we would have you on in a heartbeat, and I will treat you respectfully. We won't talk to you rudely, but I'll have questions for you that goes like, what the hell? like how do you continue to do the same thing over?
They don't allow him to. They don't allow him to do that with legitimate.
Yeah,
legacy.
I'm not illegitimate. I know who my parents are.
They don't allow him to do that in a normal situation.
No, you're right.
They're not going to let.
But I like to throw that out there because it's an open invitation. We used to, Neil mentions Pat Hanlon. We used to have Pat Hanlon all the time. Pat Hanlon was on like many times.
Jerry Reese came on our show.
Jerry Reese came on. While he was the acting general manager of the New York Giants.
We probably had like 300 listeners, but we had Jerry Reese on the show.
We actually
an interview.
We actually have no way of knowing how many people.
Yeah,
back in the day, there wasn't a way of knowing that
back then.
Yeah, it's different.
But anyways,
Anyway, so like, subscribe, all that good shit. We'll let you know when we're going to do the preview of the Chargers game. That'll be later this week for sure. Keep an eye on anything major breaks. We'll do if there's anything else. I don't know what else major could break. Maybe they trade Russell Wilson. Who knows? If something like that happens, we would definitely come on.
By the way, I promise you, because I've said this to my wife, I promise you, John and I will not start eating in front of you.
I did eat cheese and grapes. No, raspberries. Cheese and raspberries.
Oh, during the draft, you did?
It was 5 hours. I had like 6 beers.
Suck it up. No one wants to see you eating.
I was hungry. We don't do a show where it's just like falling out. And that being said, by the way, check out New York Rush. They're friends of ours. Craig's been reaching out to me. He and I need to get together. We've been trying to get together. So Craig,
not only that, but we've been telling the other guys.
Two giant goofballs. We got to arrange that. I'll take responsibility for that. It's been really busy.
Let's have him on this week.
I'll reach out to him. It's been really busy. I'll say this. I'm just going to throw out some positive thoughts to my mother-in-law. We lost my father-in-law. My mother-in-law is potentially sick. We're waiting for results. And so positive thoughts to her as well. It's been a lot, Eric. It's been a lot. So could the Giants just win a game? For the love of God, just win a freaking game. That being said, like, subscribe. We're out of here, and we'll catch you later this week.